guys, sorry. I know, I'm a mess. I made it home, but oh my goodness. It was something. I'll tell you why. Because like normally I would have been home 5 minutes earlier, but because, you know, Murphy's Law is in effect, because I had to be home, I actually got held up in traffic. Like roads that normally had no traffic have traffic on them. You know, that kind of thing was happening. So my poor mom wasn't feeling well, so I had to take her to the hospital, actually just the doctors. But my husband's gonna pick her up, so I was rushing home so I could make this interview, and usually I would have been like 5 minutes before 3. It would have been okay, but I just could not get home. And so I did speak to Judy, so she knows, and hopefully she's gonna find this live and ask to come on. It will be like a little guy holding a square of a little guy, in case you're listening. And that's usually how, oops, I'm bouncing here, is usually kind of how people get on. So there you go. I am a mess. I didn't cut to comb my hair. Is my lipstick smeared? Probably. Hi, Rachel. How are you? So I just dropped mom off at the doctor's and did the mad dash back to house so I could be in time for this interview. Hi, Andrea. And so poor mom is at the doctor's. My husband is going to pick her up. And I was driving her, what I call her clown car. And like I said, I was on country roads, and usually it's not a problem, but today it was just like every 5, like really, if there could be a car that was doing like under the speed limit, it was in front of me. Like normally I would just have to, hey Amber, how are you? Usually I just have to make a right, but the 2 people in front of me had to make a left, and then there was like, you know what I mean? It was that kind of thing. So I'm 5 minutes late. But it's okay. I look a mess. I'm shiny from the Florida heat. My hair is frizzy from the Florida humidity. And I am just out of breath and tired. But like I said, I did speak to Judy, and she knew that I was going to be a little bit late. So I'm waiting for Judy and Keith to come find me. Hi, Debbie. I see you're on. Hopefully they can see this and will find me. Andrea or Amber, can somebody tag Keith and Judy, or just try tagging Keith, because I don't know if Judy has a profile that's on this thing. See if we can find them and get them on here. You know what, let me look on my computer as well. Let me see if I can tag them via my computer. So that was it for me, guys. Excited about this interview very much. They are a husband and wife team, and they write everything from children's books. Thank you, Amber. Hi, Katina. Children's books, and then Keith, has a secret pen name where he writes some of the more naughty things. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. And I'm very excited, and hopefully my husband will make sure that my mom gets home. And actually, if I don't do that, it will, it wants to be in my video. Yeah. So, well, guys, look at the frizz on my hair, y'all. Hi, Keith. Hi, Judy. How are you all?
Yes, you got home.
Sorry, yeah. I'm late.
Yeah, come back. So you got home safely?
I did. I drove as safely and fast as I could, but Murphy's Law was in effect, so if he could be slow, it was slow. Like, you know what I mean? Like roads that are usually empty had like 20 cars on them that were going under the speed limit. Like they were, having only because I wanted to get home, So, but that's okay. That's what I get. I tell people I pray for patience, and so the good Lord likes to show me. Teach me that. So that's enough. How are you guys today?
We're good. We've got some he's just fiddling to try and get us both in.
Oh, it's always hard.
Adjustments.
Right? Yeah. You would have to back up a little bit, I guess. Yeah. The beyond, you can lean in. That's okay. Well, whoever's talking could be in frame. We could do it that way too, so it's good. So you guys are doing okay then?
Yeah, yeah. We've got a noisy workman outside. So if you hear some humming, it's the workmen. We're having new fascia boards all around the house because they were rotting. So we don't want to stop him now he's started.
Right.
Oh, wow. Well, no worries. I don't hear anything on
Oh,
my
okay.
side, so I think you guys are good. So, all right. Well, please introduce yourself for the viewers.
Well, I'm Judy, and this
I'm
is my
Stephen.
husband, Keith, or Stephen Angelina McIlvain, according to which hat he's wearing.
Right. And what is it you guys write?
You tell her.
Well, I write science fiction, paranormal, romance with a touch of erotica. But Judy likes to use the P word, starting with P and an O.
He writes porn.
And
Oh, there you go.
well, the stories write themselves. And then a couple of years after I started writing, which is what, about 8 years ago, our grandchildren wanted to read. They heard that their granddad was an author and they wanted to read it. And Judy wouldn't let them, and they didn't understand. And I said, "You're going to have to wait till you're a bit older." And then I asked them what would they like us to write, and they all came up with ideas for stories. So when we started writing the stories for them.
Oh, wow.
And,
That's amazing.
And then luckily we got some of the early ones published, but they didn't. They weren't. They were short stories, so they didn't do terribly well. So the last 4 years we've been repackaging the short stories into collections or anthologies and releasing them. And as a family, we've added illustrations, hand-drawn illustrations. Some are done by my son, some I did myself, and quite a few are actually done by the grandkids themselves. So it's none of them are professionally done. So they're hand-drawn, and I scan them in, and then we just merge them into the text. So it's a little bit rough and ready, but we've had some good comments that it's realistic. So anyway, that's what we're doing.
Amazing.
And now the grandchildren are getting older. The last collection of 3 stories was aimed more at teens, young adults, teens. Yeah. And we're currently writing a story together called More Time, which Judy sketched out. It's a time travel romance, and then I got involved, so it's got a twist in it as well.
Oh, okay. Is it an erotic twist or just like a...
I write the notes and then he puts his spin on it. So then I try and get my bit in as well, but he tends to sort of, run away with it.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, I think that's fantastic and amazing and fabulous that you have this almost like family project. How that must bring you guys together to be able to have this thing that you can share and share in time with their own children as they get older. And it's almost like a legacy. And I think that's amazing. And they could be like, I helped grandpa, I just said to our eldest one, who has started reading some of the adult books now, I said, if you have to do a book report at school, please don't mention that it's your granddad writing all of this erotica. Well, I have read Stefan's work. I read
that's an example of one of the sketches that the kids did.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, and then our youngest son, he's 41 now. He's a really good artist, so he'll put some of his illustrations in as well.
This is honestly the most wholesome stuff I've ever had on my group, guys. I love it.
Can you see that?
That's what my son did. That's the Wicked Witch being beaten up by a troll.
Oh my goodness! Wow. So, what do you like writing better? Do you like the children's stories, or Keith, aka Stephen, or do you like the erotic stories?
It's strange. I don't really plan any story. I just start at the beginning, and I write them chronologically. The characters move you in different directions. So I'm not one that sits down and painstakingly goes through the story and chapter 6 is going to do this, chapter 8 is going to do that. I don't do any of that. I start at the beginning and I move forward. So obviously when Judy's put some notes, I have some ideas that she wants to put in there, but it's still the same process. You start at the beginning and I move forward. I do a quick rough draft, and then Judy reads it and bleeds all over it, and then go through it, filling it out, fleshing it out. It's like almost like you write the Cliff Note version first, and then fill it out second, and then you start the third pass, which is the more serious editing and rewrite activity.
Right.
So that's
So how long
story.
have you guys been doing this?
8 years. So
Oh my goodness.
I stopped working, and Judy wanted me to take a different job.
Well, he retired. He retired early, and I thought he was going to go back to work and do something else. And I said, you know, I was working at home, and I said, we can't both be in the house all the time together. You need to go find something to do for 8 hours a day, so you're out of my hair, and then come back. Or buy a Winnebago, stick it in the driveway and go in there 8 hours a day. But anyway, he decided he'd start to write.
That's the story in itself,
Yeah.
by the way. Our eldest son is an English major, and 9 years ago, he had this period that he was waxing lyrical about all the stories he was going to write, and the only reason he wasn't writing them was he didn't have a good enough creation tool to put them down. He said words too restricted. And it's a small world, but my nephew back in England is a co-owner of a company that creates Scrivener. I don't know if you've heard of it. But anyway, it's got multiple millions of copies worldwide now. So my nephew's doing really well. But it's aimed at the creative part. So you basically throw your text in there. It has tools to help you pull it all together. And then the final thing, once you've done all that, then you compile it into Word or you compile it into a PDF. You can add, you can add images and move things. It's a lot easier to use in the creative process. So I got him a free license. All he had to do was go onto the Scrivener website. It's Literature and Latte is the name of the company, and download it. He had the key, and then like 6 months later, I innocently asked him, what did he think of his cousin's software, and I got this blank look, and it turns out he hadn't even bothered downloading it, and he'd lost the key, and he'd lost this and he'd lost that, and put it in mind, I was a little bit irate. So Judy said, well, if you're that pissed off, why don't you write a story yourself? So we sat on, we have a
rooftop garden.
We have a rooftop garden. We have a deck, and then we have a deck on top of the deck, which we trained the honeysuckle to grow over. So it looks like a rooftop garden. So we were up there having a couple of glasses of wine, and Judy said, well, write a story then. And we said, well, I don't, too many stories with heroes, too many stories with heroines. And so we said, well, we'll have an hermaphrodite as the hero / heroine. So so that started me down this path of what could an hermaphrodite do that you male or a female couldn't do. So I had this bright idea that the hermaphrodite, the him part of the hermaphrodite made the her part of the hermaphrodite pregnant and had a child, which, if you think about it, would be a perfect clone. And so the hermaphrodite, who's called Alex, was mentally linked to the baby growing inside her. So, and that started the series, which Origins was like 5 books, and then I had Invasion, which is another 3 books, Vampires, a couple of books, and the last series that basically put out since we've all been locked up, 5 books called Beyond. So it's still going on. And the last one I just released was like a little standalone story set in the same Alex verse. That was The Circus of the Night. That came out like 6.
Is that the one I read in the Wolfpack author anthology, Circus of the Night?
Yes.
I did a PG version.
That was the
Oh, okay. Because I was like,
I
I feel
did
like I read
PG version for the Wolfpack, so I chopped out bits and shortened it. This is the original, and then lengthened, so it's a like a 200-page story now. So this is the adult version. It's out by itself.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. So sci-fi featuring a biologically hermaphrodite character who actually impregnates himself or herself and is able to produce a clone. Fascinating sci-fi stuff there, you know. And it's a whole world now. You said 5 books in for that series.
Yeah. Well, the way I thought about it, we have computers, single computers with a one processor, but the move in processing has been to have multiple processors all linked. So obviously, if you're linked to a clone, you've now got 2 brains to work with, so you're at least twice as bright. And then later on in the story, she has another baby. So, and it's not linear; it's exponential, because you just think of all the connections between the, and then a little bit further on in the story, she has triplets. So now her intellect has sort of gone up the definitely. It's not at the bottom here; it's in the vertical part of the curve. So I sort of made her a little bit overpowerful, and since then I've been trying to wind it back down again.
Well, you could just have her take over the world and all her and her
Yeah, she
offspring.
does.
She did.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she
No,
does.
she's
Spoiler.
taking over the multiverse now.
So anyway, the final series Beyond is what is actually beyond the multiverse. So
Well, there you go for you sci-fi people out there. I must admit, I don't read sci-fi or so funny. I haven't been reading sci-fi, high fantasy, or mystery thrillers because with my MS, I have a hard time grasping complex storylines.
Mm-hmm.
But I did read the Circus of the Night story in that. So, but it was good.
well, we have the Chronicles series. Stefan has the Chronicles series, which follows one person. So we have The Man with the Tool Belt, The Chronicles of a Divorced Man, and
the contemporary ones.
Yeah, these are more contemporary, and the Discovering Inner Submission was the last one.
Oh, there you go. So
yeah, what? And then I'm a hairstylist, or was a hairstylist, and so I said, you know, you should write a book about the adventures of a hairstylist. And so he turned that. I wanted it to be like a philanthropic type of thing, a time travel, where a hairstylist was time traveling and helping humanity all over the place.
yes.
But he turned her into a time traveling whore. That did save many species and things. Wasn't quite what I wanted, but we have some nice weaves and collars and poems throughout. So that was called
The hairdressing part is accurate.
very accurate. Yeah. So we called that
Scylla's Adventures.
Scylla's Adventures, hairdresser extraordinaire. What was it?
Cosmetologist.
Cosmetologist extraordinaire.
With
Okay.
a H.
Yeah. So
I love that you got all these stories in that. So how many books do you have published at this point then? I mean, including your children's stories.
It's about 50 different titles.
and then
No,
that's
it's about 50. Yeah, I added them up.
combined with the adults and the children.
There's about 50 different titles now.
And then separate, like how many adults and how many children, do you know?
5, 10. There's probably, it's almost 50-50. I mean, you talk, I'll add up.
Oh, yeah, I don't keep account of them because he comes up with all these various ideas all the time, and then I edit a lot of his stuff. And the very first book he wrote, he always read a lot of science fiction. When we were first married, he'd read like 3 books a week, and it was always science fiction, and I never read science fiction. And so when he wrote his first book and he'd finished it, and he said, okay, you know, do you want to read this book? And I read it, and I was like, I couldn't understand why he would be writing all this stuff, let alone all of the characters were having sex all the time. Why is it, you know, they're always having sex? He says, well, they want to, they just want to. And I said, you know, the science fiction books that you read, did they have sex in them? He said, no. And I said, well, why do yours? And he says, I don't know, they just want to. So
Isaac Asimov meets or Dan Dare meets Emmanuel.
There you go. Well, you know, I mean, people must be enjoying them. You know, they're reading these sexy stories. You know, I think sex has become a thing that people expect now in books, because, you know, it was so oppressed, at least here in the U.S. for so long. You know, we as if, you know, we didn't have it, and now we're all like writing it. But I like that, because I like that you're like equal parts sinner and saint. You know, you got like these children books, and then these sexy, you know, sci-fi and that. So that's really fun. So what's your writing day look like? Like, how do you go about your day then?
Well, I don't do the writing. I give him the notes and he does all the writing. I read it, and then we'll change it around together, but he does all the main writing. Then we sit and discuss the storyline and how to improve it and the characters together.
So she has a little book like this
that I write all the notes in.
and she scribbles on the pages, right?
So then if he accuses me of not saying something about a character, I get my little notes out and say, look, it's here. That's what I wanted, and now look what you've done to them.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then, Keith, so what happens then? How often do you write then?
He's writing every day.
Every day, 3-4 hours, or the whole day, or is it an 8-hour thing?
Well, social media takes up a lot of time now. So by the time you've gone onto Twitter and you've done your replies and comments on a few, same with Facebook, it's amazing how you can lose 3 or 4 hours easily just doing that, and you haven't written anything. But I find that the story takes over. So to give you an example, more time. You know, Judy wrote these notes about more time probably 18 months ago. She wrote them in the book. And I was flicking through it, thinking what to write next. Probably only 3 months ago. So and we talked about it, and then I said, yeah, well, I'm going to do that. And then it takes over. It's like a little, it runs around in your head, all these plot lines and the characters and different permutations, and I can't sleep. I find that it wakes me up. And so the only way to stop it waking me up is to write it down. So so basically from about 3 months to now, we wrote it. How many? It's about 30,000 words, 35,000 words. Judy's read through it, and as soon as I have it down,
then
I can sleep again. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and there were sections in there which I just made a note, needs filling out, but at least the story's not running around in my head anymore. It's down in the computer, quote, on paper, and I can sleep again. And Judy has the same issue with music. When she writes,
I write music.
She writes music, and the theme keeps running around in her head, and she can't sleep until she's
got it
actually
on paper.
Played it. And it's not just playing it. So what we used to do She'd play it, we'd record it, we'd put it through one of those programs which turns it into notes, which were always wrong. And
Yeah,
then
and
I
then
would
you'd edit
then I would edit it, give her
So
a
we
printed copy
like
back.
reversed roles, because he would edit my music and now I'm editing the books.
So, but it's the same issue. It's like
Yeah.
you that maybe if I planned it all out in the first hand, maybe that would get
No, because you're
around.
always changing
But
it.
I find the story it's organic, it's growing, and it has twists in it and turns in it that you don't know about until you're actually writing them. It's like you might mean to write this, but then your hand does something different, and then you're moving in a different direction. And I have a theory. I honestly believe when people complain about writer's block, I think it's the conflict from their preconceived idea up here where the story should go and where the characters want to go. And they get to a crossroads and he wants to go that, the author wants to go this way and the characters want to go that way. And I think that's what is, you know, now called writer's block. So, anyway, that's my theory. Oh,
I love that. Well,
Charlie,
all right,
hello.
so
Come on.
Our next door neighbour's cat, who thinks is ours, has just come in.
No.
He knows
He
he's ours.
thinks we're his.
We're his.
oh,
There.
And because we're not paying him attention, he's come in now.
oh, look how pretty.
Say hello.
Oh, I love it. Hi, kitty.
There you go.
Kitty,
So that's-
kitty. Oh, my
This is
goodness.
Charlie.
We've written many stories about him for the kids.
Well, all right. So I have two questions. Number one, do you use your nephew's software to write your book?
Yes.
You do. And do you like it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
It's
really
called
good?
Scrivener.
And
It's not,
literature and latte.
the company's Literature and Latte,
Yeah.
and the software, they only, well, they may have other products now, but their main product is Scrivener.
Mm.
And it's text orientated. You can,
It's on Apple, right?
well, it's on all the platforms now. It was originally written for Apple, and you can buy it in the Apple store. And then they ported it to Windows as the second, and they've been pretty busy porting it to every platform since. And the whole idea is that, you know, you can continue your creative process wherever you are. So they put a lot of effort into, you know, merging the various versions so that you have your one master. But you can, you know, if you get a brainwave on the you know, on the train or something, you can get it out and you can put it in, and then you can you could merge it with your master when you get once you get back.
Wow. So that's really cool. Because I was curious, because I know you said your son, you know, didn't want, he never used it. And I know you had taken the key, but I wasn't sure if you were still using it or if you were, you know, because you're doing notes. And so that's neat. Okay. And the second thing, so you're a hairdresser, retired hairdresser, music writer, and you are now a retired author. What did you do before you were an author?
What was I?
He was a business program manager for Xerox.
I didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, going back to when I was really young, I didn't know what I wanted to be. So I did what's called a double major over here, but back in there it was just called joint honors. I did physics and electronic engineering, and then I went into engineering, spent a few years at a research lab, then went out contracting for a few years, then went back. I worked for a company in the UK, worked there for about 6 or 7 years. They then asked me to relocate to LA, which I did. Brought everybody with me. Originally we thought it would be only for maybe 2 to 4 years, but it turned out to be, they didn't want me to go back, so I stayed. And now we're obviously US citizens, and the kids are too. And then, yeah, I went into program management. I did a MBA at USC. So basically, you know, project management at the end. I did a little bit of marketing at one point. I'm okay at the theoretical part of marketing, but I'm not very good at selling. So I'm not a very good seller. Um, but marketing and I classify myself, looking back, I classify myself as a problem solver. So people with problems, don't throw them my way, and I work on it and basically have a solution, hopefully.
Well, that's really, you guys are so talented and multi-talented at that. Like, I'm like, just wow.
By the way,
and what a journey.
that's one of my paintings. That's Manhattan Beach Pier with a little bit
I love it.
extra colors thrown in.
I was wondering because I could see it. It was so prominent in this thing. I was like, that's really pretty. Wow, that's amazing, guys. Well, so do you like LA?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're here now. We live here.
Yeah.
Our grandkids, they're one county down in Orange. Our youngest son is only about 4 miles away. So yeah, our godson's 8 miles away now.
Yeah. So our family's over here. The kids were 9 and 7 when we first came over, and it was like a light switch. The next morning they got up and they were Americans. They went to school and they came back and they spoke like little Americans, and that was it. And they said when we took them back to England on trips, they said, we don't want to come and live back in England. It's too old-fashioned.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
They like the Hollywood scene. They're both in bands, and they had a band together growing up, and so they were always on Sunset Boulevard at the Roxy and playing their gigs, and they just thought they were little rock stars.
Oh.
Got to throw in a little story here. We dragged them out from home, left all their friends, and we stayed at a Residence Inn in Manhattan Beach, which is it was a 2-bedroom, 2-story suite when we first came over here. And of course, it has a pool, it has jacuzzis, and they at that time they gave you breakfast and dinner for free.
Evening snacks,
and the
wines, beers,
and drinks, including beer and wine. So we stayed there while we were looking for a place to live, and
but the kids thought we were living there
yeah,
permanently.
They thought that was their home. So when we told them we were moving, they were really upset because they had a pool, they had a jacuzzi, they had free food whenever they wanted it, and it was next door to Target. So
they could go and see the toys.
They could wander around there, and they'd never seen a shop that big in England. So they had all the, and they would actually sit and play with the toys without even taking them out of the boxes.
So in the afternoon, I used to make them do their schoolwork because obviously they weren't at school, and so I do homeschooling with them in the morning, and I said, okay, if you're good and you do all your work, I'll take you to Target this afternoon so you can see the toys. And so then I'd walk them up to Target, and I would sit on the floor with them, and they would just mess about having a look at the toys. So they thought they were in heaven.
Oh wow.
And
well, was it
I got
jarring?
one extra little thing here is Judy wanted a bribe to move.
Oh yeah, I had to have a bribe to come
move,
here from England.
So if you think about it, well, there were 2 bribes. One, she wanted to see the place before she agreed to come. So I brought her over on a business trip in November of 86. And if you've never been to England, November is probably the awfulest month of the year.
It's cold and rainy, right?
And
it's
dark,
cold,
cloudy,
dark, and rainy.
Damp.
And there's nothing to look forward to. Well, we have what's called bonfire night at the beginning of November. After bonfire night, there's nothing until Christmas. And it's the shock, all of a sudden it's foggy, it's wet, temperature never gets above like 45 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's by 4:30 in the afternoon, it's dark. And it's dark at 8 a.m. in the morning. The days are really short, and it's cold and damp. So we get on a plane and we fly to LA, and we get off the plane and we walk out. There's not a cloud in the sky at LAX. Not one, not even
I think it was like 72
yeah,
degrees.
and it was in the 70s. And Judy looked up and she said, "Oh my God, the sky is so high here."
It does seem that way.
Well, you never.
And I find the air different too. Like I found like the air in Germany and England thinner, and then when you come back to like Florida or the California, yeah. Like you walk out, you're like.
So anyway, and then so that was bride number one. She had a look and she knew where it was, and she said, "I can stay there a couple of years." And then as we got closer to the actual getting on the plane to come over here, they packed up the house and they packed everything up and shipped it off. She says, "I want a grand piano." So we were still living in the hotel.
Well, it was the first weekend we were at the Residence Inn.
And we didn't know any better because sales are few and far between in the UK.
Yeah. Yes.
And we're watching the TV and big commercial. Massive piano sale on
Carlton's
short-term, massive.
This weekend.
Don't miss this weekend only. So Judy said, "Gotta go. We gotta go." So we go to
in Torrance,
this place, and the showrooms was full of pianos, and Judy picked this one, the baby grand, and she was playing it, and eventually the shop assistant came over and said, "Do you like it?" And she, "Oh, I love it. I'm going to buy this one. How much is it?" And it was $1,000. And she said, "Keith, pay. Well, I didn't have a credit card
because we didn't have anything like that.
They didn't recognise the British credit card, and we had no credit, so I had to pay in cash. So there I am counting out, they'd think I was a drug dealer today, but I counted out all the money, and they go, "Ooh, where can I deliver it?"
Well, we don't know.
And I said, "Where is it now?" "It doesn't matter. We'll deliver it to the hotel." And I said, "Oh, no. Just sit on it. So.
And we'll call you when we get a place to live.
So we bought this baby grand piano. We hadn't even anywhere we didn't know where to put it.
So did you find a house that could fit it?
Yeah. That was one of the things we were looking for a house. Now I had to have a music room to fit the baby grand in.
Yeah, because they're not small.
So,
wow. So you found a nice house to put it in. Well, there you go. I love that. So you've always been into music?
Yeah, I actually taught as well. So between hairdressing and piano teaching. So that was good
but
because.
Tell her your first love, your true love.
Oh yeah, I was a X-ray tech and ultrasound tech in England, as well as doing hair and piano lessons. And so Keith said when we came over here, once I could start working, I wasn't to have 3 jobs. He said I could have 2, but not 3. And he did a lot of travel, and he was gone like 1 week out of every month. And so to do the hospital work again, to be on call at weekends and on call at night.
They didn't recognise your qualifications.
Well, they recognised the ultrasound, but they wanted me to re-certify with the X-ray. But anyway, we figured out the amount of travelling he was doing, and if I was working a hospital job to be on call and weekends and nights, I would have to employ somebody to be with the children overnight or over a weekend, and that I didn't want to do that. So I said, okay, well, I'll just do the hair and the piano teaching. And so I had dual-sided business cards. So one side said piano teacher, the other side said hairstylist. And so when I was at the salon, my clients would, want piano lessons, and my piano students would want their hair done. So it fed both ways. And then the kids, as they, went to high school, and they were in their punk rock band, and so I colored their hair all different colors and spiked them up, and so their friends wanted to come and have their hair done, and then their parents. So between the 2 things, I was always busy, and the kids loved it because as soon as they'd finished school, they'd walk down to the salon and hang out with us at the salon, and it was a lot of fun.
Oh wow, I love that. So so you thrived in America, and we're like, bye England, no more cold, damp, wet falls and winters for us. We're living it up in sunny California. And now you guys are retired, and you're like, we're staying here, and we're gonna write books. Well, I love it. And I, you know, like I said, it's so fascinating, the different jobs and things that you all have done, because that must bring so much experience to your work. I mean, everything from like music to physics. I mean, no wonder why you know, that's amazing. So, oh wow. Now, what are you working on now? Like, what's coming up in the future?
Well, there's two stories at the moment. They're both past the well, they've both been written, so we have more time. And we just recently, a couple of weeks ago, took our grandkids up to Big Bear Lake, which is it's in the mountains near LA, about 2 hours drive. And our eldest grandson, he wants to proofread more time. And so we've currently, I sent him a Word document with red line on, and I said, go for it. And so he's reading more time at his own pace. And so when he's read it and with his comments, we'll do one final edit pass. So that should be released in the third quarter. The only thing we haven't got is the book cover. Is the book cover. We need to work on the cover. And so we to give part of the story, obviously the lady in the story is the genius, and she creates a time machine, and she wants to keep it secret, so she hides the time machine on her spinning bike. So she puts a couple of extra, and she powers the clever thing about being a spinning bike is you power it yourself. You're pedaling the wheels. And so, of course, these days, nobody does it anymore. But back in the olden days, we would have what was called a dynamo, which was powered by the rotation of the rear wheel and created electricity. So she fits the rear wheel with a dynamo to create electricity, and that powers the time machine module, which is attaches to the frame. So the spinning bike becomes the time machine. So she sits on the and because she pedals, and if she reverses the polarity of the current, then she goes back in time, and the other one she goes forward in time.
So how does she control where she ends up?
Well, that's part of the story. To begin with,
there you go, guys.
She didn't. So
she had to make some alterations.
So that's part of the story. You know, she jumps on it thinking, and this is one of the twists I put in. She thought, I'll jump on the bike and I'll pedal into the future, thinking she'd stay the same. She wouldn't change. But she got older.
Really?
So she aged. For every day she moved forward in time, she aged a day. So and of course she hadn't got a mirror to look at herself, so she didn't realise she was pedaling away, and then all of a sudden she thinks, oh, I got it getting harder. And then she goes, oh, I got a pain. All right, she has a heart attack on it, and she sort of clumps forward, and then of course the momentum of the pedals carry on for a little bit, and then she is sort of collapsed on the time machine in the distant future. Well, not super distant, but like 40-50 years into the future, and that's how it starts. And she can't remember who she is.
Oh my goodness.
So anyway,
now
that's so you're right. So anyway, she recovers from that, but that's giving away all the story. So so she goes forward in time. She loses her memory.
Because she's old. She's got dementia.
Yeah, so and then they cure. No, anyway, won't give too much away. But that's how it goes. So you're right. She to begin with, she didn't know. She just pedaled forward in time and thinking she'd stay the same and she'd get off the bike exactly as she got on. But
so as a physicist, is that how you feel time travel works?
It could, because nobody knows what impact a time field would have. It may or may not freeze everything inside. It may just allow you to travel forward and back, but organically you can age. So one of the assumptions in this story is that unless you do something very different, if you just try and travel in time, you can only travel within your own lifetime. And
that comes with consequences like aging or regression
well,
and stuff. But your mind stays the same, right?
well, that's the clever thing. Yeah, your mind stays the same. You have the memories, but so you can go forward in time and you get older and you can see what's happened, and then you can come back in time, you get younger. And if you make different decisions in the past, then obviously the future changes. So you can go forward, come back, try this, go forward, come back. But because if you
does it alter the one timeline, or does that just mean it deviates to different timeline? And you as the person, no. I always wonder. Time travel's weird to me. I don't understand it.
To keep it simple, think of it from your perspective. You know, science fiction now is there's multiple dimensions, there's multiple timelines, and you have all these stories where they're jumping from one to the other. In this one, I try to keep the only timeline that matters is the one you're living in.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
like her own personal experiences as it relates to her. Okay.
Only
well, that's
from her.
sweet. So it doesn't matter if she's hopping and branching, because in her perspective,
It doesn't matter.
Is she still on the one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So from her perspective,
so it's just written from her perspective. Yeah.
So so even when she moves backwards, she's still moving forward, I guess.
Well, she can't
right?
move.
No, she is.
She can
She
go.
gets younger as she goes back in time, and of course that's
Yeah.
other consequences. Because you know she escapes from the future as an old woman, and she starts pedaling, and it gets easier and easier, and she's zooming back in time, and then all of a sudden, her feet don't reach the pedals anymore.
So she's got so young.
Now, is this a YA?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love.
Well,
this.
it's a story. There's no sex word.
It's just a pure fantasy.
It's just pure fantasy.
Romance. Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm running short on time.
Okay.
I got 5 minutes left. So
Adult one.
Go ahead.
The adult one. So that's going to be on the Judy and Keith, because it was Judy's original story with a few twists, but they're blessed by Judy, and hopefully our grandson will also bless it. And so then when Run Fine Let It Pass, and it should be out in the third quarter. On the Stefan side, I wrote a story about 4 or 5 years ago about a sex doll possessing the person who bought it, and it was only like a 4-chapter super short story about this guy. He goes into he buys this sex doll and he takes it home, and 2 chapters later, the sex doll has actually taken him over and he's dead. So I wrote it as a horror story, short horror story, but I couldn't find anybody who liked it. It's like, oh, we don't know what's going on, I don't understand. It's just a short. It's like what was that? Twilight. It's like a Twilight Zone episode. I used to watch those, and I never knew what the heck was going on half the time. But but nobody was interested. So I thought, well, I'll make it an alien invasion, like the Body Snatchers. They come down here, they infuse a sex doll. The sex doll then has to find a body, and some poor guy loses his body. And that didn't go down well. So anyway, I kept embellishing it. So now the story is, it starts off exactly the same. These aliens crash land on the planet. They haven't got their bodies, but their personalities have been uploaded into their computer. But they want bodies. They need bodies to live again. And so they make themselves into these curvaceous sex dolls, and they're sold over the internet, and whoever buys them gets more than they bargain for.
That is like a horror with sex in it.
With a bit of sex in it. And then I thought, well, I've got to put a little twist in it. So Earth is already being harvested by a different alien race, and
The humans don't know about
and
it.
humans are, living their lives, but they're actually being now. There's one race wanting them for their bodies, and there's another race that wants the planet. And so these two alien races bump into each other, and then it's a different story. Now it's a story between two alien races battling over the planet. So anyway, so it's now a full-length story, and that's called the Sexorcist. Exorcist with an S in front.
I love it. That's so great. Do you have a cover yet?
Well,
I'm
just going to have a abstract, ethereal cover. I started with abstract covers with the Beyond series.
Oh, yeah.
And there's lots of images out there that are super abstract and they're free, and you can fiddle with them a little bit, and then there you are. So it's going to be abstract, so I don't have to super worry about creating some weird, wonderful. I wasn't too sure what to put.
Sex doll, alien.
So it's going to be an ethereal, and it's going to the Sexorcist, Stephen Angelina, McIlvaine, and that's it. And that should.
Now, how did you pick that pen name?
Oh, well,
we were sitting on the roof getting drunk.
We were sitting on the roof, and we probably had about 3 too many of these, and we'd agreed that we didn't want a hero, we didn't want a heroine, and they went hermaphrodite. So we said, well,
a name that could be male, female.
Oh, and my darling wife said, there's no way you can write porn under your own name. Because she still thinks she's like, I keep saying, no, it's romance. These are romance stories. And she says, nope, it's PORN. And you're not can't be associated with the family name. So we sat down there, and I thought, oh, shoot.
So I said, your work contains a lot of S and M. So SAM spells Sam. So then we can make a name from Sam.
So we had Stefan with an F. It's not Stephen, so it's Stefan. Because it's got that Swedish vibe. And then A, we thought, if we have Stefan, that's male, so we need female. So A is Angelina. And then McIlvaine is sort of, it's Scottish or Irish, and it's got I don't know, it's got that ring to it.
I like it. It sounds very fantasy, like almost. Yeah.
So this Sam. Keith's books now. What have you got? We have. I think we call it Sam's books. Yeah. So we have it as Sam's books.
It's back to front. But look at it in the mirror, and you see that says Sam's books.
Oh, neat.
And so Stephen Angelina McIlvaine, and then after we'd chosen all of that and got the first book published, then we found out that Lady Gaga, her name is Stephanie Angelina.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, Stephen Angelina McIlvaine, it was, Sam for short. And we just liked the sound of that. And so thanks to the alcohol, we found a name.
Who said alcohol's a bad thing?
No.
Right? I usually would be drinking. I just didn't have time to grab a drink.
Well, it's lunchtime here, so we figured, we'd have some lunch and then we could have a drink while we were talking.
So this is, we had an early.
Oh, I love it. I'm so grateful for you guys coming on. So what are you drinking?
Mine's a white wine spritzer, and Keith is a red wine. He's a red wine drinker. We used to buy by the bottle, and then we got the bigger bottles, and then I discovered you can buy it in the boxes. So
wow!
So you can buy, was it 4 liters in a box? And I found one that I quite like. This is a rich red blend. So there you go. And I don't have to go to the shop so often because I just buy a box and it lasts all week.
Now, are these sweet wines
No.
or dry wines?
Dry.
Red is
Dry.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, it's-
dry.
red is dry. Yours is.
Well,
but yours
with
is
the
red.
7-Up, it's sort of sweet.
It's funny when we first started drinking wine back in England, back in the late 60s,
70s.
early 70s, wine was super expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then before we actually joined the EU, all of a sudden the prices of wine, mainly because of wine imports from like countries that don't exist anymore. Yugoslavia was the big one, and also Germany. They would export their wines to the UK, and you could buy them in the supermarket for
Couple of pounds.
really cheap. Before then, wine was basically a rich man's drink. When you
Aristocracy.
by the time you added the taxes onto the cost of making the wine, it was unrealistically expensive. That's why everybody drank beer, because you couldn't afford to drink wine. And spirits were also super expensive, but people made the effort to buy the spirits, mainly obviously Scotch whiskey and gin. Scotch whiskey and gin were the two major drinks. But then all of a sudden, but the wines that came over, we started on like Hock, which
Riesling.
is a Riesling, which is sort of sweetish. And then I think as we've got older, your taste palette changes. And so we've moved to, that one's a Pinot Grigio.
Yeah.
And this is, a
Red.
dark red blend. Who knows what it is really.
Well, now you're in California, so you have access to wonderful wines.
Mhm.
Because,
Oh, yeah.
I lived in Germany, and I used to, on the base, I would get a bottle of wine and trade with friends and that who would, especially ones that owned like, or whose families owned wineries and stuff. And they were like, you guys don't realize how nice the California grapes really are. Because, we always thought wine's better if it's like imported or whatever, but they're like,
The only thing I would say, maybe I'm a skinflint at heart, but I can buy like 4 boxes of wine for a price of 1 bottle from a California.
oh wow, okay.
So quantity, quality. There used to be a show in England. They said,
mind the quantity.
yeah, never mind the quantity.
Quality.
Never mind the quality, feel the width. It was they were making cloth. You don't worry. So I have that sort of same approach to wine.
Oh, there you go. You're like, I want one. Well, thank you guys so much
you.
for coming on today and
Thank you for the
additional tea time and that. We're so grateful. Is there anything you would like to tell the readers before we end this interview?
Well, if they read any of our books, we love reviews. That's what we write for, and keep us writing. So if they read something, please give us a review. We're on Amazon, and then our publisher, that's Divine Destinies and Ecstasy Books.
So some of the earlier books were done by Ecstasy and Divine. The later ones we've self-published through Amazon, so they're only available on Amazon. So,
but yeah, reviews
are always good.
There you go, readers. Reviews are important to authors. It helps promote our books.
Yeah, keeps us going.
Thank you guys.
Inspiration.
I appreciate. Sorry, I was late, guys. But
only a couple of minutes.
I know, and it looks like okay, good. So I got you a full hour. I want to make sure. I always stop at about an hour because that's I feel like a good time for people to watch and be like, I feel good about this. So I'm gonna end it, and then I'll upload to YouTube either today or tomorrow, and I'll send out links so you can send to your friends and family.
Thank you.
And
you can send it
and on your
in England then.
Okay.
They'll
that's
enjoy
lovely.
it.
Anyway, family always first here.
Yeah.
Remember, always key.
Yeah.
Family,
so
family first.
Hope your mom's feeling much better.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm gonna call when I hang up here. I'll call and see if my husband got her out of the doctor's yet, or if she's still in there or what. I felt bad. But it was kind of like poor mom. She'll be okay. So she's in her 80s.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.
Bye.